First at KGW News at 5 o'clock, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler is addressing the rise in gun violence we are seeing in the Rose City. Good evening, I'm Laurel Porter. The mayor's pushing a plan he believes will slow the gunfire, and that plan calls for more officers on the streets. KGW's Mike Benner sat down with the mayor. He joins us live with more on their conversation. Mike?
Well, Laurel, the mayor has been keeping a pretty low profile as of late, but he said today it was about time to sit down and address the record levels of gun violence and where we're headed. And the mayor actually believes that better days are ahead. It was just this past weekend that Portland hit 1,000 shootings. As awful as that is, the mayor says he is not terribly surprised. It's why months ago, among other things, he invested in community organizations that work with people impacted by gun violence. In the coming weeks, he hopes to get a new specialized police unit up and running. That team will focus on intervening and preventing gun violence. Mayor Wheeler is also hoping to rehire a bunch of retired police officers. He says making sure the police bureau has adequate tools and resources will not at all take away from transparency and accountability. Take a listen.
Is there reason to be hopeful here in Portland? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
There is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is reason for Portlanders to be hopeful. Look, we've gone through arguably the hardest 2-year period in the history of this city, maybe excluding wartime. But we're facing multiple crises simultaneously. A public safety crisis, record gun violence, a homeless crisis, unprecedented in the history of this city. We're seeing litter and graffiti in quantities that we've never seen before. We have COVID on top of that, an anemic economic recovery, at least as far as local small businesses are concerned. And all of these things are coming together in the perfect storm. And so what I want the public to know is I see it, I am motivated to do something about it, and I'm not partisan about this. I'll work with anybody who wants to work with me.
All right, so we had about 15 minutes to sit down with the mayor. We'll have more of that conversation at 6 o'clock on The Story, and we'll post the conversation in its entirety on our YouTube page. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. And we continue the conversation on gun violence in Portland tomorrow night on Straight Talk at 7 p.m. My guests are Portland Police Sergeant Ken Dulio, Chief Deputy District Attorney Kirsten Snowden, and Lakayana Drury from the nonprofit Word is Bond. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Overnight, there was another shooting in Portland. This one happened in the Powellhurst Gilbert neighborhood. Portland police told us the shooting happened around Southeast Powell and 125th Place. One person was shot and taken to the hospital, but we still don't have word on their condition. One person is dead after a federal child exploitation investigation in Northeast Portland. The FBI says agents conducted a search warrant this morning in the 6100 block of Northeast 14th Avenue. The person living in the home barricaded themselves inside. After a brief standoff, the Portland Police Bureau's Special Emergency Reaction Team entered the home and found the person dead. The FBI says law enforcement did not use force. The identity and cause of death of the person has not been released. 14 airport firefighters at PDX were put on leave this week after the state's vaccine mandate went into effect. Now their union is sounding the alarm, warning about potential safety issues at the airport. Alma McCarty has the latest on this story from the newsroom. Alma?
Well, prior to the vaccine mandate, the airport had 41 firefighters actively working, but now they have just 27. Alan Ferschweiler, president of Portland Firefighters Association, said this change has a tremendous impact, especially given the amount of training it takes to fill that specific firefighting role.
But losing a third of their workforce, no matter what the cause is, whether it be the vaccine mandate or because of a mass exodus because everybody can retire, is a huge effect. The airport firefighter, it's going to take a year or 18 months to get somebody trained to do that. Even as a 20-year veteran for the city, it takes 6 months to a year for me to learn how to do their operation. So it's not something that you can just turn over and get staffed out immediate.
He said with the airport crews stretched thin and working overtime, city firefighters have to step in to assist with calls, creating safety issues, especially in regards to the call times. However, the Port of Portland disputes those claims.
The airfield and the safety of the traveling public is not going to be affected by the fact that there are 14 of these firefighters who have yet to be vaccinated. The airport is not going to lose service or compromise any of the response time to the airfield.
Now, to be clear, the 14 firefighters are still employed. However, they're on leave until they get vaccinated. Their deadline is November 30th. The port says these firefighters were approved for religious exceptions. However, they were unable to provide accommodations. More on that at 11.
Thank you, Alma. The Oregon Health Authority says it is adding about 550 more COVID deaths to the state total due to a computer error. According to state epidemiologists, most of these deaths occurred between May of 2021 and August of 2021. The deaths will be shown in state totals over the next month. OHA Director Patrick Allen said in a press release, "We are taking steps to ensure that our reporting is comprehensive and transparent. We extend our condolences to everyone who suffered a loss to COVID-19, and we deeply regret the pain this disclosure may cause." The additional deaths will affect Oregon's national standing in COVID-19 death rates. Right now, Oregon is listed as the 6th lowest death rate in the U.S. The OHA says the newly reported deaths are expected to push Oregon's death rate past up to 2 states. The CDC has endorsed COVID boosters from 2 more manufacturers. Today, an advisory committee gave the approval for boosters from Moderna and J&J. Certain people are already eligible for the Pfizer booster. The CDC panel also says it's okay to mix and match, meaning you don't have to get the same brand as your initial shot. The director of the CDC now has to give final approval for more booster shots. The FDA gave its approval for expanding availability yesterday. With the update this week on booster shots, some places in Oregon already making plans to give out more. At Columbia Memorial Hospital in Astoria, for instance, preparations are underway to begin offering healthcare workers there Moderna COVID-19 booster shots next Friday, the 29th. Hospital officials say their staff are excited and have been waiting to be able to get a booster.
And our employees pretty much just got Moderna vaccine because we didn't have the sort of deep freezers that were required to store the Pfizer at the beginning of the pandemic. So the staff are so excited to be able to finally get it.
Once the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson boosters are officially approved by the CDC, it'll have to be approved by a group of 4 Western states. Then it will go to the governor for final approval. That process is expected to be completed next week. Social Security benefits are set to increase next year to account for inflation. This has many wondering if President Biden is responsible for these increases. Here's Ariane Daytil from our national Verify team.
On October 13th, the Social Security Administration announced Social Security benefits would increase by 5.9% in 2022 to account for inflation. This means that next year, benefit recipients will get on average an extra $92 a month, according to AARP. This will be the largest increase since 2008. Many social media users credited President Joe Biden for the benefit boost. So let's verify. Is the president responsible for Social Security benefit increases? We went to these sources for an answer. Social Security benefit increases are based on the rate of inflation. The Bureau of Labor Statistics determines inflation annually based on the average price of common consumer goods, which they call the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. If a person is paying more for the same thing from one year to the next, then the CPI increases. Under the 1972 Social Security amendments, the Social Security Administration uses the CPIW, a subset of the Consumer Price Index, to determine how much to increase the benefit every year. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the CPIW saw a 5.9% increase over last year. That's the exact increase in Social Security benefits for 2022. So we can verify, no, the president is not responsible for Social Security benefit increases. With your Fast Fact, I'm Ariane Daytil.
And looking ahead now to the story at 6 o'clock in a KGW investigation into a government program to help people pay for internet. But now there's a problem, and Maggie's here with more on that. Maggie?
Yeah, Kyla Boshi and the investigative team basically found that the city of Portland handed out $3 million in cash cards with no way of monitoring how that money was being used. And those cards were paid for by federal CARES Act funds. Now, the point was to, as Laurel said, help struggling people and families cover their internet bills, allowing them to work or go to school remotely. Critics explain the city program behind these cash cards relied on the honor system, trusting that recipients would use the $364 cash cards on internet instead of something else. So critics say the city-run program basically failed to measure its own success.
Who are we trying to help? Did we actually help them? I think that's important. It's not just important from a good government standpoint, but it's also important from the standpoint of, are we helping the people that we intend to help?
So the team also found there was an unequal distribution of these cards. Some people we found took home as many as 5 or 6 cards at a time. Others qualified for the help, but they got no cards. And Laurel, by the way, the city is refusing to talk on this. So Kyle has much more on this coming up on The Story at 6 o'clock.
Wow, really interesting story.
Isn't
Thank
it?
you, Maggie. We look
Sure.
forward to it.